I was really curious about what that was yesterday. I was like, is that how much of a problem they're having with people parking? Oh yeah, I forgot. It's amazing living in this neighborhood what you can tune out after a while. It was like after the explosions and the gunshots and the storms and the roosters and the peacocks and the yelling and the screaming and the bad music, the loud cars and the construction and the lawnmowers. You can block that, you can block anything. At this point it would take an atomic bomb for me to just kind of react to something. It's interesting to me that who keeps putting these signs up? I mean, is it really getting that bad? Like, did the city put these up? I guess why I'm laughing is because right now I already see somebody disobeying that. And I wonder who's going to enforce this. Don't get me wrong, I like this. I hope it's a trend that spreads to my neighborhood. Or people are putting signs there where it's saying, "No park here, no park here." It looks like the city's putting that in place because they're going to start moving over here. What is this? Okay. So, alright. So they're going to redo this whole street. Okay. That means that when I start going to Central Market, I can't come through here anymore. It also means that I probably won't be able to, well, let's just say I won't be able to run up the street. I'm looking at that, like, does that really need resurfacing? No. But somebody got a budget years ago. They said you guys are going to have to keep resurfacing Davila. They want to lose their budget money, so they're going to tear up the street whether there needs it or not. Like, I'm laughing because they're doing this, and Linnell is still a mess. You want to talk about what needs resurfacing, where the rich people live, that's the area that needs the resurfacing. And I know why they put that, they got that the way they like it. One, because they have to pay for their own stuff, and two, they want to discourage people from going through there. I'm going to be talking the whole time, so I apologize in advance to all y'all. I'm not asking you to accept my diatribe, be it ignorant, racist, or whatnot. But if I need forgiveness, please forgive me. The reason I say this is because I got through watching the James Baldwin versus William F. Buckley debate. It was kind of eye-opening. One from 1965. And it got me to reading the background on both men. And it was an interesting thing about William F. Buckley is how you can write about someone else's experience. You grew up in this high-class sheltered life. And it kind of smacks of the day where you got guys like Tucker Carlson and a lot of other conservative commentators talking about everybody needs to just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And they grew up living a sheltered life. And so, how are you going to call my life shelter? I had to do this, that, and the other. And they mentioned the one bad misfortune they had in their life, and you just kind of scoff. And you're like, that was 1 week for you. That was a lifetime for everyone else. Oh, I really got up this hill really fast. I probably walked this faster than I ran it yesterday. But I can't run anymore. Not that I could run before, but you know, I know I was slow, but at least I could breathe. At least I had stamina. Stamina. I can never say that word. Now that I'm wearing this mask, I've had to limit my runs to 3 and 4 miles. Try to get back to the basics. Pacing myself, knowing how to run. And I was like, well, after a while I should get used to this, right? You know, I'm wearing this mask for so long. Reading the thing, they're saying training with a mask is like running at high altitudes. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is never, I'm never going to get used to this. But what I'm starting to realize is human beings weren't built for long distance running, despite whatever you. So what about the endurance athletes? 2 things about the endurance athletes. 1, they're probably freaks of nature. 2, they're freaks of nature whose bodies are breaking down. Just because the guy can run 50 miles and 100 miles and does those marathons on a regular basis does not mean that he doesn't pay for them. You see him doing the distance. What you don't see is the month of recovery. Is the later on in life having arthritis in certain joints and having to get cartilage repaired here and there. But all I've realized from 10 years of running is I am not built for it. I'm built for short spurts. I can sprint. I can do a little light jogging. I am not built for long endurance, and I'm not built for speed. I spent my whole life trying to be an athlete, and I'm just not. At this point, it's painfully clear I am not an athlete. I'm really strong, but I'm not the strongest. definitely not fast. If there's one thing I had to brag about on myself is I have apparently greater willpower than the average man. That gives me some comfort until you see the average man. Like, it's hard to feel superior when you see how low the bar is. Puffball. Even though she's like, I heard that puffball coming. Cats hold grudges. I don't think they have the memory to. Demona didn't. I scooped up her kids, got them spayed and neutered. She came after me. And then after a while, it was just like she was eating just like everybody else was. That is a big cat. Is that a cat? It is a cat. What's up, Supreme Kitty? It's just funny that all this, because of COVID, I'm dressed. I'm dressed like every random enemy character from a weird first-person shooter. Like, I look like I'd be right at home in Borderlands. You might put me in fact, I look like the guys from Deus Ex. What was the name of that group? They walked around in the gas mask. They were considered the loony fringe element. I forget their names now. Anyway, you start the game and they've taken the Statue of Liberty hostage or whatever, and you have to go in there and break them up. And you kill a whole bunch of them at the beginning of the game, you get a bad rep. And so you have to spend the rest of the game convincing these guys that, look, I was just doing it for the job, man. You know, that you're not some kind of bloodthirsty tyrant. But the thing about Deus Ex is, at the end of the day, no matter what path you choose, you are tainted by power. That was a weird game. In that you got, I think there was three different endings. And no matter what you chose, the outcome was going to be bad. In one ending, you set off an EMP or something like that, and it brings mankind back to the Dark Ages. And that's bad because a lot of people will die, but at least they won't have technology corrupting them. I've seen another one. You merge with the AI, and you become some kind of tech god. And in the third one, you just keep the status quo. Maybe there's more endings than that. There was basically three groups fighting. There was the Illuminati and somebody else and somebody else. And like, which ending did you choose? I think I merged with the AI. I thought, well, maybe I could talk some sense into this thing. Sometimes that's the biggest mistake in history, is thinking that you can reason with people who are unreasonable. And you hope you can come to that conclusion sooner rather than when it's too late. You don't want to wind up like, what's his name, Neville Chamberlain? You know, history's telling you don't wind up like Neville Chamberlain. Don't give up too much to Hitler. Is that a fair assessment of him? I don't think so. Yeah, I think for all of Neville Chamberlain's faults that they point out in history, he was a guy who maybe had experienced what it was like to go through World War I, and he would do anything in his power to keep that from happening again. And he didn't realize that he was dealing with an unreasonable man. That no matter how much he conceded to this man, war was going to break out, and did. And then he started getting into historical what-if fantasies. What if the world went after Germany in like the 1920s and 30s instead of waiting until, well, what if World War II had started sooner, basically? I don't know. I'm sure if I go to YouTube, there'll be that guy who does the charming videos that I've been watching lately. I forgot what the name of it is. He has simple animation, and he always talks really fast, and he's got like I think it's an Australian accent. It's like, what did let's see, why does Luxembourg exist? Well, in 1537. He starts saying, oh, okay. Basically, a really good video, cliff notes about European history. That was the other thing about the debate. They were pointing out, you know, the Eurocentrism. How the only reason we studied European history was because we were fooled into believing they were the only ones writing stuff down. That's true, because I took a class called World History, and it's mostly about Europe. It was basically mostly about what was going on in Europe. We never covered any of what was going on in Asia. It was like, something happened in Asia, okay, so now we're back to Europe. And I was like, wait a minute. Chinese are writing everything, man. They're writing down too much information. They've got historical records about how much grain was in the imperial stores at the time. I mean, they had it down to the slightest, like I said, you talk about micromanagement. That's what was going on in a lot of these dynasties. I still have no clue how Chinese history really plays out. You can only play so much of Dynasty Warriors and the Romance of the Three Kingdoms before you have to start saying, wait a minute, this is more legend than fact. Can I get some fact up in here? Like, I'm still scratching my head as to why the Hand King, I think it was the Hand King, he's the guy, he's this gigantic fat guy with like claw hands and a big belly. And for some reason, he's got the hottest wife in the game. Like, she's this big, tall, buxom Amazonian blonde. And you're like, how did, you know what, never mind. Near as I can tell, and maybe that's the Mongolians or something, and she had a Slavic wife. I don't know. Those guys whose speed bumps are merely just a suggestion. he doesn't understand why he shouldn't be able to go 50 miles an hour down a residential street. I've got great control over my vehicle. The dense and twisted metal say otherwise. Oh man. No, the reason I can't brag is because I get on and look at the YouTube videos and see guys doing 50 pull-ups and I'm like, I barely struggle to do 5 or 6. I can do a set of 17 push-ups, and that's the other guy just hammering out 50 before they even break a sweat. I gathered now they are cheating when they do them, but I figure as long as you can get down and get back up, you're fine. Doing regulated army push-ups is which I do, the way they say you got to do them. I struggle to crank out 10 of those. Do like 5 sets of 10. Oh, that was cold, but now I'm sitting here walking for a bit. This is nice. Fauci says just because you get the vaccine doesn't mean you can take the mask off and walk around. I said, yeah, I kind of figured that. My biggest worry is I hope, and like I said, there's even I have the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist inside of me that's saying, what if this is just a big power grab? You know, like, the pandemic will never be over. 10 years later, can we please start taking the masks off? No, it's still not quite safe out there. There's still only 97% of the people are vaccinated. You're like, but no, I don't think it's a power trip thing. I just know nature, and I know it takes a long time. Nature is slow. It will be generations before COVID becomes just yet another common cold. Oh, that's new. I think. Yeah, I don't remember seeing that before. But it makes sense that they would put a school zone over here. Probably at least 5 reasons I could think of, though, that I just can't seem to work out like I used to. Mostly, though, I think for the last few years it's just because of my diet. The top 3 things I can think of off my head is diet, sleep pattern, and the thing that changed is I'm working more. I used to work a 32-hour work week, and now I work a 40. I've been working a 40 for 6 years now. Yeah, I've been working for 40 for 5 years now. And the 32-hour work week was heaven. I just didn't get to enjoy it because I was going to school. That was the whole reason I was working 32 hours. So that I could take 2 classes per semester. A Monday, Wednesday class and a Tuesday, Thursday class. That's what always pissed me off about the university that everyone complains about. Schools are really stupid when it came to working around your schedule. You had this one class that was required for your degree, and that one professor decided he was just going to make it on a Saturday from 9 to 1 or something, some stupid schedule. It's like, that's what we got, take it or leave it.
Wait.
A lot of assholes out here. Oh, sweet. Trust no one. Anyway, what was I saying? I had to take classes at weird hours, or that were antithetical to my schedule, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I took one that was called Digital Logic and Circuits. And it had a lab portion and a lecture portion. And for some reason, those two were completely separate from each other. I'd go to the class, and the class didn't mention anything that was going to happen in the labs. In the lab, you showed up once a week on a Friday, which I hated because I worked on Fridays. And so what happened was I had to stop working out on Fridays. And my sleep got really messed up. I'd have to get up and it was like a 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock class. And so I'm used to working the night shift, getting up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I try to take my weary bones and go in there. Six hours of sleep, trying to do these stupid labs. Did I learn anything? Unfortunately, in college, by the time, at least, like I said, at least at UTD, my experience with, I thought I was going to pick up at least something, and the reality of the situation was we would working with integrated circuits has really gotten watered down. Like, oh, you don't need to know any of this stuff. I was like, it's all pretty much automated. I was like, well, I would like to know a little something. No, you don't need to. And then the lecture portion was an old Chinese guy reading off of transparency slides about how the Pentium Pro was the greatest chip ever manufactured. The latest chipset we were talking about was an old dual core. And it got to the point where what I realized was they're not there to teach you anything. Like, college became obsolete. Yeah, they weren't there to teach you anything. They were there. Basically, college was just a formality. The dudes that were in that class, they were, you know, they were hackers and people who had been raised around computers, and parents were already electrical engineers, computer scientists. These kids could type before they could walk. They could read before they could talk. And they just had to have a formal degree plan in place to say, look, we tested them on this, and this. This is how we know they know their stuff. For the rest of us, we were hoping that maybe we were going to learn something. It was a really poor survey course for this is what's happening in technology today. You're learning Java when no one's really using Java. You're learning C++, but you're not really deep diving into it. You're learning a bunch of theoretical concepts that no one ever brings up in an interview or anywhere else. Now they got classes. Now they got classes for that. It's like how to fake creativity in an interview. The guy asks you, "How would you move a mountain?" This is the answer you give. Like they were teaching people to be creative. Yes, they were trying to teach people to be creative. Just like another boondoggles at the end, they were sitting there having entrepreneur classes, teaching you how to be an entrepreneur. That doesn't make you laugh. Like, really? I was like, the only teacher of entrepreneurs is the business world. And I get angry about that stuff because I wanted to get a degree in robotics. And the whole time I was starting, there was no formal degree for robotics. It was electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and a little computer science. You'd have to be like a triple threat major. As I was leaving, they started having a robotics program. And I thought to myself, what a jip. So, I have a degree in computer science. I really don't want to do anything with it. I learned more in the community college level than I ever did at the university level. I keep thinking about when I was doing my Cisco training. It was like, yeah, you read the book, and yes, the book had it was very, very tech heavy. as far as technical jargon and everything else, and how to operate the routers and whatnot. But there was always a practical class that you had to take, a lab part of it, that you had to sit there and actually mess with the routers. Your thing won't work and you can't connect anything, and all of a sudden you're like, well, how do I do this? You're reading back and forth, and then you finally get it configured. I learned a lot in that class. Oh my God, supernetting and subnetting. We had to cover that backwards and forwards. And now I don't remember it as much. What happened was they came out with private networks and public networks, and they kind of killed the need to ever supernet and subnet. I say kind of, because now some of that knowledge applies to VLANs. Some VLANs you run out of addresses, so you have to start doing that supernet and subnet and stuff again. Trying to figure out how many bits you can reserve for the node addresses versus the segment addresses. I still kind of remember it, but you know, at the tech level I'm at, I rarely get above level 2 on the OSI model, so a lot of that stuff you forget. I remember the network classes, oh my God. Sorry to geek out, but NetWare was a great operating system. I keep thinking about all the stuff that Windows stole from it. Like Microsoft brags about Azure and SCCM. NetWare was doing that decades before with ZenWorks. ZenWorks and ZenApps. I thought that was really neat when I used to work at the temp companies, and it was, you'd find out what what did the user need? We'll put them in this group. And they'd come in, they'd log in the network, and then all of a sudden this thing would launch, and it would say, okay, here's your apps, click on this. Some apps required you to install, and other apps you could just run from a, what was it called back then? It was a terminal. Well, I guess all the, maybe all the assholes are getting home at 7 o'clock. I don't know. This is why I hate walking. I can't walk around too late now because of all the weirdness that's going on with COVID and the election and people having financial difficulties. So that's part of the reason why I'm also avoiding the west side of Marsh Lane. That, and like I said, they keep doing construction everywhere, and I'm just tired of dodging all that. My heart's really not into this today. That's what I love about walking, is you can do a half-assed job of it and still get a decent workout. On my runs, if I do a half-assed job on the runs, it's just going to take longer. And like I said, I never get coordinated, and I stumble over stuff, and I feel like I'm about to fall over. And if I do a half-assed job in my lifting workouts, I can mess myself up, and I can mess up my back or something. Pull a muscle. So I'm always maintaining discipline, even when I'm really not feeling it on the workout. The cool thing about my lifts is, when I first started doing it, I hated it. And then after about the second or third workout, I started hitting that second wind. And I'm like, okay, I'm warmed up. Now let's start hitting the weight. I used to get that with jogging. Ever since I started wearing the mask, I never get a second wind. But let me rephrase that. I get a second wind. My second wind now is just me with just the normal first wind I had before. What were you saying about the Black Lives Matter thing? Right now, I think I was saying earlier that the civil rights movement was a lot of people just getting tired of getting picked on. And that's what Black Lives Matter is now. If the police and society in general and society in general were doing what they were supposed to be doing, this wouldn't be much of an issue. Folks wouldn't seem to have a valid gripe. But every time you screw up, there's a reckoning, and then you have nerve enough to get tired and pissed off at the people who are griping at you that they're being oppressed. It's like, well, there's something about, like I said, that was what Buckley was talking about in that debate. That kind of set me off. He was just like blaming the victim. And I was like, so this is an old conservative tactic. What are we to do about this? Or what do we do about that? Everyone else seems to be able to catch up. It's just the Negro that's having this problem. And then you look at the history. Other groups came over here. They were maybe messed with once or twice, maybe once, maximum. And then after that, they were able to get ahead. Whereas with African American, there's always been tons of false promises, and a repeat of tactics. And so that has made the community very distrustful. With other groups, you've had the abuse and it was over, we dealt with it. With this group, there is a repeated history of abuse. Anyway, just something he was saying that I was just like rolling my eyes on. And it made me come to the conclusion that there's a black expression twice as good, half as black. And if you got a group of people that are going that speed all the time, then the way you have to match it or help them fix things is they would have to be quadruple as good and half as white, or maybe a quarter or 3/4. I guess what I'm saying is, when they keep saying they're meeting you halfway, they might have to do more than that. When you're working twice as hard and they're meeting you halfway, it still feels like they're not meeting you at all. I was waiting to see the dog. I didn't know there were so many Chinese. I knew there was Vietnamese, I knew there's Koreans. Oh. Well, this is about to change. Yeah, you keep saying that. I do. One person wearing a mask. The wife, she couldn't be bothered. I suppose that story's all about. Oh, I'm so used to seeing white people with dogs, it was just kind of a shock to see Asian folks just walking as a group. Everyone else is wearing cold weather gear, I'm just wearing a pair of gloves. And I realize it's because they're noobs. And I've been doing this a while. The thing that bugs me the most is my body doesn't do it uniformly. It's like, yesterday I went out and it was 58 degrees. So I was dressing when I run like it's 68 degrees, which is just a shirt and t-shirt and cut-off t-shirt and shorts. But my hands, they follow a different path. I have to dress my hand like it's 10 degrees colder. So when it's 58 for everyone else, it's 48 for my hands. When it's 48 degrees for everyone else, it's 38 degrees for my hands. So you're watching me bundled up in thick gloves. That's what that is. This is a wicked hill. And when I first started doing this in 2010, this was me doing hills. I would run. I would run up. So every time I do one of these, it would have been a full mile. And I did like 5 of these. And the thing that makes me mad is that none of the hills seem to have any kind of logic. Like there's no symmetry to. I go down this street and I'm walking up a big hill. I go down another street and it's perfectly flat. If I go the opposite direction, it's not downhill. For some reason, it's still uphill. And I'm like, what the hell? I was like, what is wrong with this? Like, I came down here. This was part of my 26-miler. And the whole time I kept expecting it downhill, and it was still a mess. Let me remember, if I went down Cherokee, that would take me all the way to, that would take me to Lovers. I guess the only reason I go to Linwood is because I wanted to go as far east as I could to get the 6 miles maximum out of this. No, that's what it was. Cherokee was like a weird circle. So Cherokee would take me all the way back over to Blue Bonnet. But that's what it was. Big agave plants. There used to be a tennis court over here. I can't remember. It was, like I said, I can't remember if it was a tennis court for somebody's private house, or was it like part of a park or something. It's still there. Okay. That tennis court's been there as long as I've been in Dallas. When we were kids, we used to run up here. This was part of my dad's route. I got lost here. I said, now I'll never get lost again because I know this area quite intimately. See a lot of people with TV screens in front of the windows. Like, you really don't care that everybody can see what you're watching, huh? I guess I can tell how prudish the country is because no one's ever watching porn. That'll never happen. Usually it's the news, or the cowboy game, or a game show. Sometimes I look over and there's somebody playing a video game. Never see cartoons either. Cartoons and porn, two things I never see on people's TVs. Alright. One cool side effect about wearing the mask now is I'm no longer breathing in cold air. I thought it was my breath I was smelling. I was like, man, that stinks. I realized you gotta wash the valves every once in a while with soap and water. I was just disinfecting with alcohol. All the sweat and everything else gets in the valves, and all of a sudden you're smelling that weird cheese smell. Occasionally there's some halitosis in here too. My stenches are sulfur. It smells like sulfur, and then there's lactobacteria. And then there's, like I said, halitosis germs. You can't smell strep. At least I can't smell strep. And I can't smell plaque. I didn't think about that until now. There's no yellow film on my masks. Plaque gets everywhere, man. That's a pretty nasty bacteria. It sticks to everything, and the next night you've got this bright yellow orange goop. It gets on the pipes. I was nibbling on a string on my neck pillow. Next thing you know, it started turning yellow. You can hit it with alcohol, it doesn't do crap. You get hit with peroxide, it doesn't do crap. Basically what you do is you get soap and water, and you scrub plaque off of the surface of whatever it sticks to. I don't think that kills it, it just dislocates it. Plaque is tough stuff. Oh yeah, there's the other thing that's part of the other microbes that I have are algae. There's a lot of algae in my mouth. That weird blue-green algae that looks black. You think it's mold, but it's algae. My biome, can't figure out why I have lactobacteria and I'm lactose intolerant. I guess my gut doesn't have it. It comes out of my pores and sweat. said my clothes start smelling like cheese. Like, why are you telling us about your stenches? I'm thinking about something there. There's a guy who says that we bathe too much. That might be one of the reasons why we keep having autoimmune disorders. And that he bathes, he runs water over himself, and he rarely uses soap. He might use soap once a week. Then he proceeds to talk about how he's used to his musky smell, and his girlfriends appreciate his musky smell, and I'm just like rolling my eyes. I just keep thinking, like I said, with all the cop stuff that goes on, I keep thinking one of these days. And for me, my reality is not matching the media perception. Like I said, maybe there's 2 or 3 jerk cops that I deal with, like, once in a blue moon. For the most part, they either don't care about me or want to have a conversation with me because they see me around. And then, you know what, now I realize that's what that was. They were talking to me to find out if I was any kind of threat. I don't use a lot of slang, and I don't cuss. At least I don't cuss too much in regular conversation with people. At that point, they said, okay. And then they started mapping me. Maybe he's ex-military. Maybe he grew up here. Maybe he did this. But I guess they're satisfied when they realize that I'm not fluent in thug, so... That's part of what I'm talking about right there. About you're not even trying to meet me halfway. Black guy gets shot, and we're all guilty of this. Black guy gets shot, and immediately you start checking his bona fides. Well, what kind of guy was this? Oh, he had priors. There you go. He deserved to get shot. I'm like, no. And I said that the other day. I was just like, some of these guys, but their crime is ignorance. You know, they're moving fast. They're resisting arrest. But at the same time, you say that, and then you see a YouTube video of a white guy just shouting, just yelling at a police officer. He's drunk and disorderly, and the cop just sits there and takes it. And then when he's petered down a bit, they wait for about a couple hours, and then after he's petered down, they slap the cuffs on him and take him where they gotta go. The black guy, you're watching a confrontation that's maybe 5 minutes long, and then all of a sudden they're drawing out tasers and they're drawing out guns, and it's WWE out there. It's fatal WWE. It's Mortal Kombat. I saw a video of a naked white guy running around, and they just let him run around. He would go up to the cops, and the cops just kind of got out of his way, proceeded to let him run around naked. And that's the deal. And I'm walking around with his camera, and his big giant light strapped to my chest, and a fanny pack. And I'm like, if I'm a thief, or if I'm some kind of criminal, I am the most idiotic looking criminal you've ever seen. I mean, basically I dress up in a clown suit when I go walking every day. At that point, all you're getting is mild stares. Like on Halloween, I'm thinking the only thing that kept me from, not Halloween, but that Thursday before Halloween, the only thing that kept the cops from showing up, I was like, what is he wearing? I was like, I don't know, he's got on a skull mask and a tracksuit. I was like, you're kidding. No, it's skull mask, tracksuit, fanny pack, and it's got a camera on top of the skull mask. Some people were freaked out. Other people didn't give a shit. I saw no one laugh. And that does trouble me a bit. I think that's one thing I've noticed in this pandemic the whole time, is I haven't really seen people laughing in public. And that kills me. You know, I've heard a lot of yelling, heard full-throated conversations, but I've heard coughing and sneezing. But laughter has been in short supply. And it is stressful because armed men don't laugh. Let me rephrase that. Armed men don't laugh joyfully. And so, you know, laughter is, like they said, laughter is disarming. You get someone to laugh, they're just like, oh, just puts them at ease. And nobody's at ease right now. Well, the restaurant's open again. Man. You can tell they do a lot of cooking in there. I'm coming by here and it is warm. Man. Oh, that's where the gas lines are, huh? And that's new. I don't remember them having a school zone here. Is that what this is? Thought it was somebody's house. And then I saw the handicap parking spots and I was like, I don't know what this is. Might be a little mini apartment complex. Maybe that's the school. Yeah, okay. Oh, this is all a little disconcerting. I guess that's the school. That's the law office. Was this here before? I don't know. No. Oh, it was something else. Before it was Pfeiffer and Associates or whatever, some law firm. Now is that? I guess that's the hairstylist place. Place where you can go for a $500 haircut. What are you thinking today? I'm debating whether I want to do the full 6. Yeah, I got to do it because I got to see. I'm curious as to what they're doing over there. I'll be walking in the street though. Tore up street. God only knows what they do over here. That's what it is. So the canine place is gone. And I think Richard Weiner, I think his practice is gone. You can't see Dr. Weiner's foot place anymore. Okay, no, she's still there. He's still there. So I guess that's what that sign's for over at Davila. During the day, no one can park their car in the street. But at night, there's not really anybody there to enforce it. Well, the jackasses are still going down that street. Every fucking time. This asshole's still parking over here. You think he would have got permanent plates by now? I guess it was just that one day then. I was coming home, and I used to do the driving video. I was coming home, and they had us detouring down this street. I take that back. I did see it this morning. Yeah, so you get closer to here. This whole thing is just a big pit. I always thought that this rough-ass neighborhood one day, all that would be gone and turned into luxury houses. I still don't understand why the guys from South Park, they just put down at the end of every episode, there used to be the thing that said, the logo said, Brandon, believe it. I don't know, like I said, if they worked there or they just had a bone to pick, or they just thought it was pretty neat. I remember Brandon was a big deal here. New guys that their mother worked there. Seemed like a decent airline. Never flew them. I was about to say I've never flown Southwest, but that's not true. I flew Southwest 23 years ago. That was the last time I flew. And that's the thing that gets me. There people are like, well, I fly every month, or I fly every day. I was like, I haven't gotten in an airplane in 23 years. That underground bridge, I remember when they put that in there. I I'm surprised no one had slapped handcuffs on me that day. I think about that to this day. It's like me walking through that tunnel. Well, I guess it's just a matter of time. That was this year. The FAA or somebody comes after me. Hey, you're not supposed to be taking pictures down there. I'm like, oh, sorry. The reason I say, oh, sorry is because on the Google Maps you're looking at it, and I can't tell if they told them that they blocked it, or I think it even says, maybe it does say blocked by such and such, such and such. So that was the only, like, if you look at the map tells me I can walk through there. You know, that was my whole plan, was to go through there. And then they got this sign saying, no bikes. And I was like, all right, well. I just thought if I get, you know, something happens to me, something happens to me, but I'm too tired to try to go around this. So I went through the tunnel. It was interesting. Like I said, won't do it again. That's the thing about this country, man. They give good lip service to how free you are, but the street signs tell you differently. You think you're free, try walking in the city. It's always a nightmare I have where I'm walking and I'm running. I'm going down the street and it dead ends. And for some strange reason, in my dreams I climb the fence. And it's always into somebody's backyard and they're always looking at me, and I run through, and then I'm jumping over their two gates, and then I just keep running. And I'm like, I won't do that again. And then I get lost. It's a weird recurring dream that I have. Where they, like, in the dream I'm pretty much like just some kind of weird parkour master. I'm running through stuff, I'm jumping over obstacles, not missing a beat. Well, you can tell we're not under a lockdown. So these assholes are just carrying on like business as usual. All I do is look at the reports, and I don't. At this point, it's just an apathy washes over me. I see the deaths, and I see the infections, and I see all that other stuff going on. And I just shrug my shoulders, like, well. We've had 10 million infected. It's like you can add a zero to that. At this point, we've probably had about a quarter of the population infected with the virus. I call it a quarter because in my mind there's 400 million people. There's 400 million people in the United States right now. Like I said, I don't care if they're citizens or not. At any given moment, there's probably about at least 400 million people that are going to go to sleep in the United States of America, and they've been doing this for weeks now. They live here. So out of that 400 million, 110 million and some change have caught the virus. Yes, I know, the official count says 10 million. The official count says 10 million. The official count is borked. The official count is counties maybe not recording the way they're supposed to be recording, asymptomatic people that haven't come in and got tested, and just really shitty job of contract tracing that we've done in this country. So at this point, I'm not even assuming. I'm making a really good educated guess that about 100 million people have caught the virus. Now, I might have. I'll never know. Kind of stupid that. Well, I was about to say something. It might get me in trouble, but I'm just saying, in my line of work, you would think that the employer would want to test everybody on a regular basis. I understand that testing alone should not give you should not give you false security, or gives you false security, but testing is should be part of the routine. Testing, mass, social distancing. Testing, mass, social distancing. They didn't want to do testing, so I'm like, all right. I understand if China can do it, we can do it. But maybe I need to stop saying that. Maybe I need to stop saying that if this country can do it, we can do it, because I'm starting to realize this country isn't as great as advertised. Everybody's talking about Africa's containing the pandemic. It's like that backward places that can't seem to get anything working. This is all new. Huh. That backward place has had several pandemics wash through it. That backward place is built now to deal with pandemics. Maybe they're not as backward as you think. It's kind of funny that Trump was talking about the shithole countries and all the while making this one of them. Are we quite there yet? Okay, that's new. That's new too. He talks a big game, but I guarantee you, if I get a hold of him, barking will be the last thing he'll be doing. Sorry, my macho is showing. Anyway, my toxic masculinity is showing. We used to call it macho, now it's called toxic. You just love how, George Orwell would always talk about that, just rephrasing things and remarketing and counter-revolutionary words. Anyway, you're talking about Trump made this a shithole country. Yeah, but there was something else. Oh, I was going to say that, I've been looking into like my fallback position. I was thinking about joining the Peace Corps. And then they were talking about, and the Peace Corps was saying, you know, well, we'd send you out here. And the places we send you won't have running water. And probably won't have electricity 24 hours a day. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, how, you know, I can go to the bathroom. Like the one guy was right, he said, you can pee anywhere. And I was like, I forgot how, you know, we're supposed to be a free country. That's the one thing I can't do. I can't just whip it out and start urinating right now. Now people were like disgusted and gagging, but that's freedom. I understand that before we got quote unquote civilized, that's what you did. You know, that's why nature designs you in that way. It doesn't design you with a super large bladder that you can just say, yeah, I'm just not going to piss at all. But you got to go? Okay, I'll just go. And the nature's like, well, you know what? You can go anywhere. Civilization says, hell, the hell you can. So I got to find a bush somewhere, or I got to... I'm not even mad about that part. I'm mad about I can find a bush somewhere, and then I can start pissing, and then someone will look at me, and then they'll call the cops. And that freedom is one that I think America probably should fight for again. The freedom to urinate in public. I think that's one invite. Like I said, don't ever give me a law degree, because I'll go after every sacred cow. I'll go after obscenity laws, I'll go after drug laws, I'll go after every law you think that makes things decent. And I'll challenge the logic of them. But, you know, like I said, it's just one of those things. You know, when you start thinking scientifically, it's like it's urine. Like it's not going to really hurt anything. Even if 1,000 people came in and started peeing around your property, it's probably not going to hurt anything. Damn. Well, you people are really hurting for the holidays, aren't you? I'm just looking over here. The whole goddamn neighborhood decided to light itself up. And I was like, well, I'm stuck here 24/7, so I might as well make my prison look good. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Let's put some color. It'll be the only color these neighborhoods ever see. But anyway, I was going to join the Peace Corps, and I got to thinking, I was like I said, I'm watching this. They turned it off as soon as I came around. But anyway, they got the Christmas lights going. I got my big fancy light here. I'm going to charge up someday. Got my fancy camera that I'm going to probably charge up the battery on it. I got my watch that needs a recharge. You get where I'm going with this. I'm going to work out with lights, plug in my earbuds, and then turn on my little mini, my little Chromebook, and start listening to stuff. All this stuff requires electricity. And they're like, bring a lot of books. And I was thinking about it as well. It's like, I can't really read books because my eyesight. I mean, I could, but I won't be able to read as much. I was like, well, you're not reading now. I was like, that's true. I'm going to sit down in front of my little HD TV that I'm basically using as a monitor. And when I'm not watching YouTube videos, I'm going to be catching up on work and everything else and eating in front of my TV. I got all these comic books. I was just going to sit there and start reading comic books. And every single time I try to do it, I feel like there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. I can't sit still anymore. I mean, I feel guilty anytime I'm trying to enjoy myself. Like, wait, there's supposed to be some work you're supposed to be doing. And there usually is. Like, that's no way to live life. I was like, maybe not, but that's what it's like to be an American. In the back of your mind, you're always thinking there's probably some work I need to be doing somewhere. That's why you start pondering things like joining the Peace Corps when you retire. Or in my case, not retire, work less. If I can never afford to work less, I'm going to start calling it that, work less. If I can ever afford to work less, probably join the Peace Corps. Never a dull fucking moment. Sweet Jesus. Remember when it used to be just you down here? Yeah, those days are over. I get this look on, these people look at me and they're like, why are you wearing that mask? And the question you should be asking is, why aren't you? This is what I mean by 110. I'm like, was it always like this? Like, hell no. Like, I've never seen these cats before. I knew that church was there. I'd never seen anybody in it. It's a weird anomaly in the middle of all this extravagance. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on out here. But then I forget that it's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Actually, it's a week. 1 freaking week. Like, this time next week, I'm going to see what America's discipline is made of. And I've already been disappointed multiple times this year. I don't see why it would be, why this would be any different. I'm watching the lady on nightly news. Everybody in my family has to get casted, but we're still getting together for Thanksgiving. I'm thinking to myself, if that didn't work for the White House, why is it going to work for you? This lady spent a fortune having outdoor tables and indoor sanitizers, and I just rolled my eyes on that whole deal. I'm like, okay. For 1 goddamn year, people couldn't just say, you know what, let's put the brakes on it. 1 year, they just said no. Never a year. I was like, okay. That lack of compromise, that's why you're sinking in the third world status. Keep that in mind. You know, dictators don't compromise. That's why they're walled off away from everyone else, and nobody wants to have anything to do with them. But yeah, the point I was trying to make about the Peace Corps was, before all this stupid shit started happening around me, was that as bad as I could talk about America, at least they've got electricity 24/7 and running water. Well, where I'm at right now, at least I have. I gotta rephrase that even. Because there are places, even in this city right now, where somebody can't pay their bills. And so the infrastructure, but what I'm saying is the infrastructure is there for them to have lights and water. But they didn't give somebody green strips of paper, so no water and electricity for you. It's a weird, jarring thing about capitalism is when you watch something that you could have for free, and people gave away freely, suddenly have a price attached to it. It's the same thing in the same location using the same methods, but now you can't access to it because it has now been fixed with a dollar amount. And the point I'm trying to make is I keep thinking about when I used to go to service stations, and the thing they used to use to draw you in was I don't even think they used to draw it in, it was just a courtesy they provided was water and air. And now you got people doing unsafe things in their cars, looking around for a free pump or a reduced price pump. It's like, well, that one's $1 and this one's 50 cents. And I was like, you know, you didn't have to do that before. Now you're getting maintenance on your car with the same level of enthusiasm as you do buying a soda out of a vending machine. I trip out when I look at some of these things. Now I'm looking over in the vending machine. I'm expecting, I don't know what I was expecting to see, but I sure as hell wasn't expecting to see a plastic bottle of colored sugar water for $1.25. I was like, damn. But yeah. Like, okay. And if that's the norm, that means there's somebody out there offering, you know, it's $2.50 for a 12-ounce bottle of whatever you drink. $2.50 Coke. And I started thinking about Back to the Future, where Doc Brown gives him he said, here's a 50. You can buy yourself a Pepsi. And I was like, and the guy he was buying a Coke, or it was a Pepsi. It was product placement as Pepsi. I think it was Pepsi. I can't remember now. But the bottle of Pepsi he was trying to get was $50. And the funny thing was he couldn't figure out how to open the bottle. He says, guys, I just want a Pepsi. And all of a sudden the bar opens up and spits out one. So Mecca's had an interesting future. We'll never reach it. I can't remember the newspaper in Back to the Future. I think the newspaper had a hologram in it. I'm just thankful that the future hopefully won't be like what I saw in Minority Report. That was freaky, man. But then again, when you go on the internet, it's like that now. You go on there and your eyes are being scanned constantly. They're scanning your retina. Hey, we know who you are. He's like, we know that you like these products. And it's like, hey, John Carter, how would you like this today? Hey, John Carter. Hey, John Carter. I was mildly curious about James Baldwin, and now whenever an ad does pop up in something that I'm reading, they're trying to sell me his books. I was like, well, here's a new fresh hell that I've unleashed upon myself. What have you learned? that if you search for sex products, leave your cookies turned off. Oh man, that's why I have to have one computer completely separate for my naughty stuff. Because it was getting to the point where I'd be talking to someone, I'd say, hey, let me pull that up for you. And there'd be an ad for lube or something, and I was like, okay. And people know that the only reason you get these ads, because at one point maybe you were searching for that. I was curious one time. I mean, what is it? Like I said, the only thing I can think is people are cooped up in their houses all day. So I'm coming by at 8:45, and normally these people, I would never notice them. But now they're out and about. Anyway, like I was saying about urination, right now I gotta pee. And I can just go in this bush, yank out Willie, and, you know, water the flowers. So what do I do instead? It depends. And that's kind of a joke too. I can start wearing adult diapers, which I've been thinking about. Normally, like if it's in the middle of summer, I just pee my pants. I piss myself, and then by the time where I gotta go, I get nice and dry. It doesn't matter to me because I'm not gonna be sitting in somebody's house or anything, and I'm gonna be changing these shorts when I'm done. So it's an interesting feeling. You are free to piss your pants in America. I just hope you're not going to a business meeting. We're not quite there where you can shit yourself though. Done that a few times. I did that one time. Said never again. That's why I'm glad I got this fanny pack where I carry money. At least now I can go to a 7-Eleven. Hey, can I use your bathroom? It's for customers. And you can go out and buy a bag of nuts and take a dump in their hazmat bathroom. And that's the end of that. I still might join the Peace Corps though. Like I said, who knows what'll happen in 15 years. I'm always hopeful and optimistic that things will get better, but the reason that cynicism, the reason that cynicism becomes your default setting is because cynicism is realism. That's why I was rolling my eyes when Obama goes off on a 10-minute rant about cynicism. I was like, all right, Barry. And you have these little speeches with your private donors talking about how these backward-ass people are clinging to their guns and Bibles. That was a cynical statement. Like, that was the whole thing, is like everyone talks about Obama like he's God, but man, he's got some screws loose just like everybody else. And so I don't I hear him talk, and sometimes there was a certain point where I just started tuning him out. Like after he got the nomination, I didn't care about anything else he had to say. Because I started seeing things in him that made him seem like that showed that he was just a regular politician. However, that doesn't mean that I think he was the worst president that this country's ever had. I mean, what is it tonight, man? Like, seriously, what is it? Is this just stuff that I don't normally see? No, I mean, there are a lot of people out here for some reason. Anyway. He's not the worst. Not even close. He's not the greatest either, though. You know, my rating for Obama, he gets a B. He gets a low B. He did all right. You inherit a shit economy, a country having involved in 2 wars, and you're the first black cat in the White House. You did all right. Like, how would he have done great in your book? Universal single payer. He got a single payer, he'd have been the greatest. One of the greatest. Instead, we had to settle for Obamacare. Not terrible. You know, Obamacare is limbo. Republicans want to drag everybody to hell. Democrats wanted everybody to go to heaven, and it was like everybody can't go to heaven. Obama gave them limbo. Or should I say purgatory? I guess it's really... Obamacare is purgatory. And Republicans want pure hell. And it's really more of a statement... It's really more of a statement against an indictment against the people of the United States who keep, or maybe it's not them, maybe it's the gerrymandering, like I keep thinking, but that doesn't explain the senators' part. But it's the people of the United States who keep voting in a Republican Senate and in other words, not giving them the majority they need to get this shit done. Nah, I take that back, because he had the majority. He had everything he needed to get single payer. And then he started getting Democrats who were fighting him. No, we don't want this. No, we can't pay for that. And I was like, oh, God. And they compromised, and they compromised, and they compromised. And then you get Obamacare. And then you start saying things that just really, that really kill your energy, like, well, it's better than nothing. When you utter that phrase, well, it's better than nothing, you've already taken it up the ass at that point. It is one of the ultimate surrender phrases. The reason I think it may be worse than surrender sometimes is that it shows that you had a Pyrrhic victory. The phrase, it's better than nothing, is an indicator of a Pyrrhic victory. I've had to eat that word, that phrase a lot. That's better than nothing. That's the flawed logic that people use to get into relationships. Well, that's better than having no one. I don't know about that. You got somebody who drinks all the time and gets violent. I don't know why you would say that's better than nothing. At least nothing ever puts you in the hospital. At least nothing is not, you know, at least nothing is not hard on your wallet. Well, it's weird. It sounds like I'm using a lot of double negatives, but the bottom line. But yeah, people needing people. I don't know, man. I think about that phrase too now. It's better than nothing. That's kind of where we are with the pandemic, isn't it? Yeah. Also harkens back to what I was saying about meeting you halfway. The people who use the phrase "try to meet me halfway" usually aren't meeting you halfway. That's just a trick or a manipulation tool they use to get you to compromise a little bit more on something, or give up more. I know I said earlier about just what people who don't compromise look like. Holding off Thanksgiving for 1 year is a small compromise. What's the number one thing that Americans do anyway? They complain about Thanksgiving. And yet when it looks like they're going to cancel it, all of a sudden everybody's like fighting hard against it. Remember what I was saying about always having to work? Americans always having to work? Well, that's one day that you work the hardest. I hate Thanksgiving. I fucking hate it. Because I have to work harder than I normally have to work during the year. I have to sit here and entertain people. I have to get stuff cleaned up. I have to get things set up. I have to buy things for one day. You know, it's awesome that I get one day off from work, but then the kick in the ass is I get one day off of work, but then I have to turn around and entertain these people. I think people are complaining about flying. They're complaining about the uncle that they got to talk to. I don't have any of that, by the way, but you know, my dad's the one, and we don't talk anyway. But I mean, that's that whole deal. I was just like, you always complain about how much you hate your relatives, and then the 1 year they tell you maybe you need to ease up off of it is the year you fight hard on it. I was like, let's do it, America. Let's just take 1 year and enjoy doing nothing on Thanksgiving. As far as I know, for right now, I'm not doing anything for Thanksgiving. As far as I know. I keep thinking about all these assholes that drive around with no muffler on. You know, I got one of those at work. I keep saying, it's like the little bit of horsepower you get from that ain't worth it. He says, I beg to differ. I'm just thinking to myself, this is the asshole at work that doesn't do any work to begin with. I'm just rolling my eyes like, yeah, like I'm really going to listen to what he has to say. But at least you know what an asshole looks like. Yeah, I hate Thanksgiving. When I was a kid, I kind of dug it. When I was a fat kid, I could eat whatever, and I already ate whatever I wanted. It's just on Thanksgiving. Everyone else was eating like crap along with me. I love the cheesecakes, the chocolate chips, the cookies, the pies. not really. I wasn't a big fan of the meats. I am now, but so what's this asshole gonna do? I never get that. That irks me. You're just gonna sit in the car and idle. Is that your pet peeve? You know, I'm like that guy in the bullshit episode where he's complaining about everything everyone's doing in the city. And in him I find a kindred spirit. But I mean, who could think with all this going on? I get to a point where I tune that out. I was like, yeah, that's just something that happens. Anyway, I love the food. I love not having to go to school. What I used to love about Thanksgiving, that was my video game day, where I would just, while everyone else was talking and doing their anyway, like I was saying, while everyone else was doing their thing on Thanksgiving, this is gonna beep in a second, isn't it? Nope, I guess not. These things have been really good so far. I say that and it'll start fucking up. I think that's a memory card issue and not a battery issue, but whatever. Anyway, I just love being able to play video games on Thanksgiving. That's kind of messed up, isn't it? Yeah, one of my favorite memories of Thanksgiving is playing night games on the Commodore 64. It's one of the weird things about Thanksgiving. You go to a place in uncomfortable clothes. You go to someone else's house and observe their rules. Usually the parents eat uncomfortable amounts of food, have a shouting match, and then in that state you have to rush back to the airport or home while recovering and going back to work. I mean, there are a lot of assholes out here. There's one right there.